Hi everyone, and welcome to the Women's Only Academy's Goal Setting 101. So in this workshop you're going to learn how to set tangible fitness goals that allow you to enjoy the journey of progression and not feel the pressure of an end result. Now it's worth saying that I've taken this presentation out of a bigger workshop which is part of the Women's Only Academy, which will be launched later on in the year. And so if there's any moments where you feel like maybe there's more work to be done or that you need a little bit more information, that will be because this is a short snippet of a bigger workshop, and I couldn't fit it all into this, but I still hope that you can learn something from this and maybe get some direction about goal setting and how it can help you. A few things worth saying before we get going is that I am recording this at home during lockdown, so if you hear any dogs barking or birds singing, that'll be why, and there's not really anything I can do to stop it, so I hope it doesn't make this too annoying for you. But other than that, let's begin on this goal setting workshop. Now the first thing I just want to let you know is who I am. So I'm Katie Moran and I'm the founder of Women's Only Weightlifting. I've been a personal trainer and coach for the past 6 years, and I predominantly work with women who are beginners to weight training, and that's what Women's Only Weightlifting started as. It was a series of workshops which allowed women to learn about weight training from the foundations all the way up through to lifting and progressing in weight training. Some of you may have come to the collaboration I did with Women Who Fight earlier on in this year, or perhaps I've seen you at some of my workshops over the past year and a half. But through those workshops and through working with my clients, I realised that there was a gap between the actual physical side of training and the more emotional and mental benefits of training, things like body image and self-worth and loving yourself through weight training and knowing what your body can do. And so that's kind of why I made the Women's Only Academy, which will be launching soon, as a way to bridge that gap between the benefits of training for, physically and the benefits of integrating that training into your life in order for you to live in a positive and healthy way. So as you can see on screen, my own training mainly consists of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at the moment. I'm a purple belt and I've been training that for the past 5 years, so that's kind of my focus. And I believe that health is not a body type, and that's kind of the angle that a lot of my coaching comes from. And I did an article on this with Women Who Fight recently, and I'd encourage you to go and read that if you would like some more context on the issue. So my time as a coach has made me realise that there really is an issue in the fitness industry when it comes to how women are told they should approach health and fitness. And I think that the issue comes in two parts. The first is that women are conditioned to believe that health is a body type, and as I've said, I don't agree that's the case. But by enforcing this idea that once you look a certain way you'll be healthy, we create a situation where women who won't ever look that way because they physically can't, that might be due to genetics or the sort of training they do, or because they don't want to, which is a perfectly reasonable reason as well. But we have a situation where women will never feel good enough, but it also puts us on a path with an end destination, when really health and fitness is a life journey. So I think the first thing we have to address in this short workshop is the difference between event goals and life progressions. Now I've coined these phrases, so maybe other coaches are talking about this as well, and they use different language. This is the best way I could use to describe it myself, so bear with me. So fitness related goals are vast. You could want to lose weight or fat, you could want to gain muscle and get stronger, or have an exercise that you want to excel at for competition, or get ready for a fight you want to win, which I know will be something that affects a lot of you ladies. And these are goals that I would define as event goals, because they have a time frame that they normally need to be met by, and they often have emotions attached to them. So when I lose fat or get stronger and excel physically, get on the podium, I'll finally be happy and confident. I'll have made it. The life I want to live will happen to me. But as someone that's chased a lot of fitness related event goals in her time, these range from competing at the World Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Championships to losing fat, I can tell you with experience and honesty that hitting your fitness related goal will not change your life. It will make you proud and it will raise your self-efficacy, but you have to do the work to maintain those feelings and allow yourself to move into living a life where you are working and feeling your best. Because of my experience, I want to make sure that this goal setting, we look at your event goals, but we also take the time to think about the bigger picture and your lifelong progression. This is the idea that health and fitness isn't an end result game. It's a marathon, not a sprint. And by having goals that are open-ended, it will allow you to cultivate a mindset that won't be shaken once you reach or fail to reach an event goal. It's just something that's happened to me a lot in the past, especially in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, when I've focused so much on getting to a certain weight, a certain conditioning for a certain event, and then you lose, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, your whole world's shaken because that was all you've been focusing on. So the idea of life progressions is that you have these event goals you're working hard for, but you also have these underlying goals that won't be shaken because they're consistent. You're making small progressions all the time, and those things are where your kind of sense of progress are coming from, not the event goals. So on a broader scale, this is also the starting point to you stepping forward from a place of love for yourself, as we begin any notion that physical fitness and self-worth are interlinked. There's more on this, much more on this in the Women's Only Academy, so I can't go into too much detail here, but this is the starting from how you approach your goals and kind of where you attach your sense of progress, and where you'd start to detach your sense of worth in relation to any of these goals. So when we think of types of goals, event goals normally have a deadline. So they'd be things like losing fat for a wedding, losing weight for a competition, preparing for an upcoming fight or a specific sporting event. Types of life progressions tend not to have a deadline. So they could be an increase in strength, an increase in your VO2 max, increase in your joint capacity, mobility or flexibility. You can see actually I've accidentally put in all of those because they are currently the goals that I'm working for, but yeah, they would be life progression goals. And you'll notice that life progressions are easily monitored through testing. Event goals are normally monitored by timing, with the exception of like measuring for fat loss. The testing from life progressions will keep you engaged in the work you do to reach your event goals, and your event goals will help in your consistency in working towards your life progressions. So both are essential. Both of them help the other to kind of stay focused and keep your mind in a kind of sane, even place, rather than all in or not at all. So having an event goal and not being tuned into lifetime progression can make you feel like you're on a treadmill, constantly chasing something but not really moving anywhere. And that's because you're only marking your success within the context of your bigger goal. And bear in mind, if your goal is to look a certain way, you may never ever reach it. So you're never going to have those moments of small successes to boost yourself and kind of raise your self-efficacy and make you feel the true benefit of weight training and strength training or sport or whatever it is. So it's so important to tune in to your lifetime progressions and not just your big goals. So anyway, let's start working to get off the treadmill now by setting your goals. Now, before we get into this, I just want to say again, this is a very personalised process. So I'm going to give you the kind of broad strokes of how we would do this, but normally this is a one-on-one issue and something that we would do together. So it might not be as effective in this sort of setting, but it will give you kind of like the bare bones of where to start. So you're going to have to do a little bit of work now. So pause this and go and grab yourself a pen and paper. And then I'll give you a second to get back. So I'm going to assume, for the sake of this workshop, that you all have an event goal of some sort that you want to work towards. However, it's okay if you don't. I'd just jump ahead a few slides because this doesn't apply to you. But you can still learn it. But if it doesn't apply to you, there's no need to stay. So there's some questions that I need you to ask yourself and answer. Those questions are: what physical goal do you want to achieve? This should say physical event goal. So what physical event goal do you want to achieve? When do you want to achieve it by? Please be logical here. Okay, I say there, wanting to lose 20 kilos in 4 weeks is not achievable. Okay, it's not healthy, it's not achievable. So think sensibly. When do you want to achieve it by? What life goal do you want to achieve? So it could be anything. Maybe it's, I want to improve my deadlift, I want to get stronger, anything like that. And the final thing is, I want you to write a weekly plan out that you would follow in an ideal world to reach this goal. So there's nothing that's going to get in your way here. There's no distractions in terms of life getting in the way. This is kind of like, in a dream world, what would you do in your ideal day to get you to where you want to go? And I say here, and if you don't know how to reach your goal, then try and be broad about it in terms of how many times a week you would need to train. But again, as I said at the beginning of this section, I do suggest you book in with a coach to help you with this. And the final thing is, make sure you include meal prep in your plan. So the idea, actually no, pause this, go and do that, and then come back and we'll carry on. Okay guys, I hope you've paused it. I hope you've written that all down and you're back in, ready to work. So now what you need to go and do is, I need you to go and open your phone and have a look at your weekly diary. Now, at the moment, because of lockdown, this may not be as effective, because obviously this isn't how your normal life would look. But outside of lockdown, when you have more time, less time in your hands, this may be something that's really helpful for you. So you're going to look at your current week and you're going to match that with your ideal week, and you're going to start seeing where those discrepancies are. And there may have to be some sacrifices in order to achieve your goal. So you have to be honest about what you can sacrifice and what you can't. And the idea is to make your timetable manageable over a longer period of time. If you can't keep up the new schedule, then keep on rejigging it until you find a timetable that includes space to train and prep your food that you can consistently stick to. Be honest about it. It needs to be consistent or you won't make change. Remember to include space for social life. It's more important when lockdown ends, but if you don't have that space in the diary, you're not going to stick to your plan. So you have to be honest with yourself. The next stage in this would then be to create a personalised training programme that you would then have to be able to fit into your new diary, which should be a plan that you can consistently stick to, because you've both said through making your ideal week that you want to do these things to reach your goal. And by matching it with your diary and rejigging it to the point where you found something that works, you now know that you can work towards your goal. So you want to, you can do it. So the next stage would be how to do it. And unfortunately, I don't have the space in this to tell you how to do it. But if you are interested in the Women's Only Academy, then just drop me an email or contact another coach to help you with it, right? But do seek that help to get you on the way. And then it's really important just to quickly go over, that you do get that program from someone if you're not sure how to do it by yourself, because if you don't find a way to put yourself into progressive overload and make something that's going to be consistently enabling you to progress, then all of this will just feel like a treadmill again, because you won't have those small moments that you can kind of look at and think, oh, I'm on the right track. Okay, so if you don't test, it's just a guess. This is so important, testing and retesting. So removing guesswork from your training is one of the best ways to move forward. So as part of your goal setting, it's important I introduce you to goal tracking. Now again, this is very personal to the goals you're working towards, and personally I think testing life progression, the things that don't have a deadline, is the way forward for the general population, because sometimes you won't make giant leaps forward, you might be moving inches, but so long as you are measuring those inches and view the race as a long one, the pressure to hit a certain standard or worry about potentially feeling like a failure because you didn't meet a deadline disappears. However, I am aware that event goals need to be tested too, and this is where things like centimetres weight and other things can prove useful. But for the benefits of this, these are my favourite tests to do with clients. So I had the 1 rep max in there, range of movement testing, so important, and race testing, 5k, 2,000 metre row, depending on what their goals are. And you might not have to test all of these things. Maybe just pick one of them, but do in your own program. If you don't have a coach doing it for you, make sure you have a way to assess your improvement and to mark those inches that you're moving forward over, well, forever really. So yeah, make sure you test and retest. It's so important, and that's what's going to help you remain consistent reaching your goal. However, I am aware that creating such rigid goal setting can seem very daunting, especially to beginners. So if this feels quite daunting to you, then I just want to take a second to talk to you about daily actions and habit forming. So if you think about the goal that you would like to work towards, it could be anything. And then I just want you to pick 2 to 3 daily actions that will help you inch closer to your goal. So the aim is to pick things that will make you feel congruent with that goal. So it could be small things like drinking enough water, or they could be bigger things like getting 10,000 steps a day. But just make sure you have daily actions that you can consistently follow that will enable you to feel congruent with the goal that you want to achieve. Because a lot of how we behave is due to the way we perceive ourselves, and by sticking to small daily goals that you hit and you reach, over time you'll start realising you're capable of achieving bigger ones, and maybe over time you'll be able to go back to the previous slides and start fine-tuning what it is you're aiming for and being a little bit more focused with that. But if you never get to that point and you only hit the daily actions and habit forming and put healthy actions into your day, then in my opinion, that is healthy. You know, we sometimes try and overachieve and think we have to get to a certain level of progress and we always have to be moving forward. But what I want you to take from this workshop is that it doesn't always have to be like that. It could just be small actions, 2 or 3 things we do every day that make us feel better in ourselves and make us feel like we are taking healthy actions for ourselves. And you know, sometimes that's enough. So again, the point of this is to take pressure off. And if there's one thing that I'd like you to take away from this workshop, it's that health and fitness is a marathon and not a sprint. Your lasting success will come in inches, sometimes even centimetres, and we need to test to make sure we see the 1% changes. But by approaching health and fitness with both an event goal and awareness on life progressions, whilst understanding the difference, we ensure that we don't ever attach our worth to the outcome of our short-term successes. Instead, we notice that the joy comes from the small daily actions we take that make us feel good now and better tomorrow. It's a marathon, not a sprint. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you learned something today, or maybe took something away and made you refocus and think about goals in a different way. But as I said, this is a short snippet from bigger workshops that will be released when the Women's Only Academy goes live. And if you want to ask me any questions in the interim of that going live, you can email me at info@iamkatiemoran.com, or you can follow me at iamkatiemoran or at Women's Only Weightlifting. I do hope you enjoyed this, and thank you so much for tuning in and getting involved in Women Who Fight Charity Week. I'm proud to be a part of it, and I think it's for such a fantastic cause. So thank you again, and I hope you all have a lovely day.